You know, speaking of skill-based matchmaking and learning and stuff like that, I got a really interesting comment, and it was another argument against skill-based matchmaking, one that I don't buy, but it was an argument nonetheless. It read, the problem with skill-based matchmaking is that you feel like you never improve. You're just always playing the exact same skill as you, so you're never improving. If the skill-based matchmaking didn't exist, you would play against shitty players and sometimes and be like, oh, I'm way better than that guy. I thought that was an interesting argument, although I don't really buy it. But one thing I think is important about it is to recognize that it's important to have self-reflection when you're learning. You don't have to just dumpster somebody to recognize that you're making improvements in whatever you're trying to do. I don't think it's that hard to recognize improvements on your own. But I do actually think people have a lot of trouble self-reflecting and being like, okay, I improved in this, or I did this better, I did this slightly different than last time, so that's good. Or, you know, I think it's like really hard for people to do that sometimes. In something like a fighting game, you know, you can tell you're improving because the rank's going up, right? Your silver rank last month, this month you're gold, and next month you're platinum, or whatever it is, right? You can see improvements in that way. But in games like without ranked modes, or in games where there's not a progression system that's related to your skill like that, I think that some people can struggle to internalize when they're improving. And maybe the reason is that if you ever think about someone losing weight, when you see them, you're like, oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight. And they're like, oh, really? Yeah, it's been some weight, but I can't really tell. You lose like 10 pounds or 15 pounds, you're like, I guess maybe I look slightly different, but I'm not sure. And then somebody sees you and they're like, holy smokes, you look like a different human being. What happened? And you're like, oh, I must have lost weight. Like, you know, it's hard for you to tell maybe by your own realization. And I think that video games, you know, improving at video games or any other kind of skill is the same kind of way. You might be struggling dealing with some character in a game and it's taking you forever to learn how to deal with them. But then maybe a month later you fight them and you beat them and you're not even thinking about whether you've improved or not. You're just pissed off that some move didn't come out or something didn't come out. It's really easy to get distracted from your own improvement or to not give yourself any credit. The hardest thing I think for people to do is to lose and realize they did better. It's very difficult to like play a match, lose against someone, and then be happy. Be like, you know what? I did a lot better. I did this better. I did that better. I answered this thing. I was using this move more. Give yourself credit. Every time you do some dope shit, you should be happy. You should be happy about your self-improvement. If you're playing Rocket League and you're playing at minute 1 where everybody's your skill level and nobody can even hit the ball into the damn net, everybody's driving around missing the ball and shit. When you're playing like 4 months later and people are flying on the ceilings and doing backflips and hitting shit midair and, you know, saving the ball from like some obscure angle, you should be able to tell that you're better. And it's the same thing for a shooter. If everybody's running around using fucking random ass weapons and like they're not jump shotting or drop shotting or like they're not even moving very fast, you should be able to tell that kind of improvement. And even when it becomes smaller, right, the better you get, the smaller improvements seem to be. Even when you get to that level, once you've learned enough skill, you should be able to tell like, okay, I made little adjustments here, little adjustments here, little adjustments here, and pump yourself up. Idom says some people don't know how to lose. You know, this happens a lot on stream too. I'll see people lose. I was watching Brian F play. He was playing in tournament and he lost to somebody, right? And he's like, damn it. The big thing I struggled with was this and this. These are the two things that I couldn't beat. And what I should have done is this, and what I should have done is this. But I fucked up. I totally did this thing wrong. And someone in the chat was like, excuses, lol. And Brian F was like, this is why you'll never be good at anything. I lost, and now I'm trying to come up with what happened, figure out what my issue is, and recreate it so I can improve. And this guy in the chat's like, lol, excuses. If you lose and you don't think to yourself, what are the things I did correct? What are the things I did wrong? You're not even trying to improve in the same kind of way. Even if you guys have, I'm sure people have had this. If you've ever gotten, like, gained a skill and gotten good at something, you know how this feels. You can win and be pissed off at a win because you've made a ton of mistakes, or not be happy with a win. You can lose and be happy with a loss because you know that you improved what you've done. That is like super common. I've definitely won matches where I'm just shaking my head after, like, Jesus, I fucked up like 8 things. I did totally the wrong thing. My muscle memory's not even right. I didn't even punish the right thing right there. I'm an idiot. And I've also lost and been like, okay, that was better. When he jumped at me, I did this, which is what I was supposed to be doing there. And when he did this move, instead of mashing this button, I backdashed and I got air flipped out. Or I did this and it worked out. You know, it's like really important to ground yourself and remember that winning and losing are not tied to your improvement necessarily. But understanding what your flaws are and then fixing them or improving on them is super important. It's especially important in team-based games, right? When I played Ranked League of Legends for the seasons that I played it, I would get into matches, and sometimes I would be in lane or I'd be in jungle. I would go like 5-0 or something, right? And then one of my lanes or somebody on the map is just dead. I'd never seen them alive. 0-10 or something absurd, and then like the match is just barreling out of control and we lose, and I'm not even mad after. You know why? Because the part of the game that I played, I did great. I'm happy with the things that I did. I feel good about this. So even though we lost the match, I mean, it happens. That's something that is out of my control, and it went fine. And I think card games are a good example of that. In card games, that shit happens all the time, right? You just like have a bad draw, or you queue into a bad match, or, you know, just some shit happens and you're like, guess I'm fucking dead. And like, that's just life. You can't be pissed at that. It's really like when I'm climbing ladder in a card game, it's actually really important to just be like, you know what? I did everything I could. Things happen. Next match. And just move on and not get like dragged down into being upset about a loss, right? I always climb well when I don't get frustrated by losses, and I just focus on making sure that even if I lose, I make the correct plays. Sometimes you have to do plays that you know might not even work, but it's still your best option, so you try it. And if it fails, you're just like, well, that was the best play I had given the situation, so, you know, life goes on. None of what I'm saying applies to the hold up, mash and fest on Mortal Kombat. It sure does. My favorite thing about Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 11 is every time Sonic Fox wins, Sonic Fox is just like, all of you guys complain a lot and you suck, and this game is dope, and you don't know how to play it. And that's why you think these characters are bad and these characters are bad. That's my favorite part about Mortal Kombat. Of course that stuff applies to Mortal Kombat. It's not like suddenly because it's Mortal Kombat, it's like some like obscure entity where no rules apply. Frame traps in MK11, laughs and down 2 crushing blow. I mean, if there's enough time for them to down 2 it, either you're not jailing into a high or you're not using a mid that's fast enough to actually frame trap them, or you're not plus enough to actually frame trap them. I feel like MK players are like Call of Duty players. The things they complain about and the things they're pissed about, like, it trickles down. There's just this weird obsession with it. Also, if you think Mortal Kombat's the only game where people mash on defense, hold up on wake up, and you try to frame trap them and you get hit for some reason and you're pissed about it, you should play every other fighting game. You know what people do in Dragon Ball? Dude, Dragon Ball has 975 wake up timings. You know what it's like to try to meaty someone in Dragon Ball? You knock somebody down in Dragon Ball, and it's like you're in the actual show. You're like, where the fuck's he gonna appear? Where's the instant where is he gonna show up? And then he just like attacks you. You're just like, oh, Jesus. Please, God, I hope I don't die. And that's not even counting for like Vanish, Reflect, or Wake Up invincible moves, or level 3, right? Which is invincible. That's just life, dude. I don't know how to break it to you. My win rate triples when I successfully meaty. You know, at a low level, meaties are like the most powerful thing in the world. If you learn how to meaty at like a low or intermediate level especially, you will destroy everybody until you get to good players. That's just a fact. Listen. You know, actually what will make you a better fighting game player is knowing how to meaty, and if you're not gonna meaty, knowing how to back up and not putting yourself at risk. I don't just mean blocking on their wake up, I mean walking away or backing up far enough that if they commit to something on their wake up, you're not at risk. That is a skill that will take you far.